Welcome to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael G. Neece, president of Our Future is Kind, and your trusted companion as we search out kindness strategies we can use in our everyday lives. Together, as we chase the idea of building a kinder future, we will interview experts in kindness, team building, human motivation, corporate culture building, relationships, plus politicians, artists, and those with a vision for a healthy and kind future, one we all want to live in and deserve to enjoy together. In addition to interviews, we will consider positive depictions of humanity's future in art, literature, the movies, and media. And we will issue kindness challenges each week, give an update about Our Future is Kind, the company, and what it's doing to stay true to its mission. So, let's dive in. Vanessa Emerson is a recognized business strategist, wellness educator, MC, and influencer. She mentors professionals in business development and strategy, marketing, event management, conscious leadership, and health and wellness principles. Vanessa Emerson, welcome to Our Future is Kind.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very kind of you to have me here.
Excited to have the conversation I know that we're about to have. Just so the audience knows, we met at the National Speakers Association meeting in 2020 in Phoenix, Arizona. That was incredibly hot. But I remember sitting at a table with you and just being fascinated by your background, by your stories, and by the focus of your work. So before we dig into all of that, though, I would love for you to tell our audience what makes you.
What makes me me? Right, there's so many things. That's a hard one. I'm going to give you like a top couple. I am an animal lover. Didn't realize it until I was an adult, but I am somebody who's, I might even go so far as saying an activist on their behalf. I am someone who can't help but lead. I don't really consider myself a leader, but then when people logically say it, I think it's the way I was raised, that you step in and you get stuff done. And you help guide people. So I think I've learned to embrace. I think I'm a leader, I love people, and I love meeting people. I love networking. I think if you were going to sum me up on the professional side, I'm a connector. I like to connect people to people and people to solutions. That really jazzes me.
People to people and people to solutions.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's what we all hope to do, and I don't know that all of us do it nearly so well. So you dug into your business just briefly for a second there. Can you tell us, I mean, you and I had a conversation before this podcast, and you said that you're kind of filtering down to 3 major areas. Can you tell the audience, what do you do?
Sure. I'm almost 25 years in, working specifically with people who speak, like yourself, right? Professional speakers, experts who teach or train or speak, whether they consider themselves a professor or a trainer or a professional speaker, whatever, but those who have their own business and who want to grow that business. I would call myself a business advisor from that standpoint, for people who have a message that they want to get out to the world. Many of those people also coach or consult or mentor or train or whatever, all those shades of gray we use with those different words that are meaning very similar things. So that's what I have been doing for many years, almost 25, and I started in the dental industry. It just happened. I didn't plan it that way. I never would have gone after this career, which is so wonderful when synchrodestiny happens. Met a person who was looking for an office manager who happened to be a dental consultant and speaker, and loved her. She's like a sister to me, and we're still really close all these years later. But I worked with her for about a dozen years, and in the process, just naturally, it just grew to where I've had my own business now for almost 20 years. And I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of speakers and consultants just in dentistry. But in the last several years, I've expanded that out to where I work with speakers from any industry with these principles that just help them grow their businesses. So that's where it started. But you asked about the three.
Sure.
Several years ago, I was just feeling a pull in my late 50s as I was getting closer to my 60th birthday. So astrologically, for those who Saturn return, we're going to be like, oh yeah, I know what that means. So it's like every 30 years, we just as people tend to evolve and step into our next 30-year segment. And as I was getting closer to that, I was feeling like there's so much I have on my personal side of my life that I'm passionate about that I'm not really fully embracing and bringing into the professional. And that's when I leaned into working with Deepak Chopra's Chopra Center. They've now sold and they're no longer called Chopra Center, but I've worked on 4 certification programs with them. I have, you'd call it a life coach. It's a total health and well-being certification, meditation, and also principles of health and wellness, Ayurvedic principles of health and wellness. And then I'm still working my way through the yoga certification. That's one I don't ever intend to teach, but I wanted to learn it for the principles and the concepts that are so kind, which is, I think, what attracted me to our conversation, Michael, when I sat down, again, synchrodestiny, that there was a space next to you at lunch, and we had this most engaging conversation that we stayed and continued to talk when everyone else went off to session, because I felt, oh, there's a lot of an alignment here. I feel that what the world needs now is more kindness. And I feel that when we lean into principles like conscious leadership, when we're aware of ourselves, of our bodies, of other people, when we lean into these kind principles, when we lean into just the pillars of health, they're kind. I remember when you told me your focus is kindness, I thought, wow, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. And that really engaged me. So thank you. Thank you. And I think I've answered that in there somewhere with all that rambling, but it really all boils into one of, as business owners and leaders and experts who speak, we have the opportunity to lead consciously and in the process, there's this whole aspect of taking care of us and ourselves and our body and our consciousness and how we show up, and that's the pillars of health piece.
Well, helping speakers means that you're helping people who want to change the world in some way.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
That is the goal for any great speaker, right? I don't know if I've ever said this out loud to my audience before, but speeches change the world.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean whether it's Martin Luther King Jr. or Aaron Brockovich. I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many. Forever. Speaking has, it's influence. We look at this term influencer. Someone asked me recently, like, what does that really mean to be an influencer? And I said, I think it's a really broad term, because in so many ways it could be, we apply it to social media, but definitely anyone who takes a platform, whether it be politically, whether it be professionally at conferences, whether it be at your local parent-teachers association, or as a leader of the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. As someone who's at the front of a group, I think there's a responsibility. I don't know why my camera keeps moving. I'm going to move that over. I think we have a responsibility as leaders, but definitely, that's what I was saying. I think I kind of didn't mean to step into a leadership role, but I think you just actually do. Don't you think, Michael?
I think it comes with the territory. If you were trying to make the world a better place, you're trying to convey something that is deep and from the heart, you end up speaking in front of a lot of people, and people who listen, now suddenly you're a leader, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where that influence comes in. It's so important.
So I'm thinking about your journey, and you started off in the dental work by accident. I think that happens to a lot of people, right? We were presented with opportunities. Somebody says, hey, you should try this job and apply for this thing. And before you know it, we're partway into a career that may not feel great or quite aligned, right? It may be fine, but it's just not quite aligned with who we are. Did you ever feel that? I mean, is that what pulled you more toward the Ayurvedic sort of tradition, or what was it that kind of pulled you away?
I would say I've always been interested in other religions and customs and philosophies. I've been a student of self-development since I was 18 and I've read a lot of books, I've studied a lot, and I've just taken on what makes sense to me as a belief system. But as far as a career, as I mentioned, I'm in my early 60s. And so when I look back over, I've been working since I was 16. So 45 years of having jobs or having different I guess we call careers.
Sure.
I found it interesting that it feels like it's all come together in this particular job. I used to program websites, and we have a marketing firm where we program websites now. I used to be involved with a company that had sales, and we definitely have aspects of sales. You know, as I look back on all the different things, I worked in medical before dental, so there was some knowledge I brought there. And I think, especially for those who like are my kids' age, in their 30s or 20s, the younger working professionals, you just don't know where you're going to end up. But I think every piece of it matters, and you can take something from every experience. Something you said made me think about Dharma or life purpose. And I would encourage those who are on their way to closer to retirement age, right? They're not there. They may feel like that's so far off. And they're just starting, adulting, right? Where we have to have a job. We have to have a career. So they're lower at that end of that spectrum, to take heart, recognizing that within your gut, within your heart, within your brain, what's right for you. And what I'm doing now, I could not have done when I was 20. I would never have been able to build the business and serve leaders in the way I can now. It's because of all of that experience. And were there jobs where I didn't love it? Yeah. But it was so helpful in many ways that when I took the next job, it was just putting together all the pieces of my puzzle. And what I want to say about Dharma, if I may, one more thing. There are many exercises available online for someone who, Dharma is just it's a Sanskrit term for purpose, for those who aren't familiar with the term. So their purpose, and people will often say, I just wish I knew why I was here on this planet. I just wish I knew what I was here to do. I think we can touch that. I think we can determine that. And I would encourage you to look for exercises online. There's no shortage of life vision exercises, purpose exercises online, or work with a life coach. Work with someone who can help you establish that. Because here's the nugget I'm wanting to get to. It's just like I think that it's so important for people to have a belief system, because life gets hard sometimes. And it's so helpful to have something to hold on to when we know where we're steering our boat, where I know what I want to do in my life. Not just life vision, which is beyond career, but when I know where I want to go with my career, it just helps us make all the decisions. We can hold up decisions next to that and say, does it feel good in my gut? Does this feel like this is me? Does this feel like where I should go? That internal GPS will never guide us astray. Never. Our gut's never going to tell us to do something and then we wish we hadn't. Right? Have you ever had that experience? I've never had it tell me wrong.
100%. Your gut, your soul, if you will, is trying to point like a needle in a compass, it feels like.
Yes.
Yeah, what you said resonates very deeply with me. And I think it is a deep kindness to ourselves when we listen to that sort of inner voice. And when we try to shut it down and somebody says, don't do poetry, there's no money in that, you should be an engineer. If you don't, listen to your voice and you listen to those others who might be well-intentioned and are trying to point you in a certain way, it's unkindness to follow those others. It is great, deep inner kindness toward yourself to follow your own purpose, right? Would you say?
Yeah, that even you saying that makes me feel a little bit of relief. There's something about that makes you go, there's some permission in that. Why don't you then, that person, that example, be the engineer who also shares their poetry at the Moth?
Sure.
Right? Like they can combine it both if they feel called to both, or go with what your spirit calls you to. I think you're right when you say we'll all find our own word for it, right? Yeah. But I think that the bottom line is we all have experienced it. We all have experienced that inner, screaming at us sometimes to do a certain thing. And if we do, then we're often happy.
Yes. And if we don't, then
we're often not.
That can have repercussions for years. Yeah. So when you are helping business professionals, when you're helping speakers, when you're helping people try to find their way in life, how do you center on what they might need? How do you try to ferret that out so that you know enough so your guidance is the right guidance? Is that, I'm not sure if the question came across the right way, but does that make sense?
Sure. Yes. I think when I work with speakers, I work with two different hats on. One would be that purely, how do you make more money, right? How do you build a business that's going to generate more clients, higher profitability, and in that role, I'm consulting.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so then there's the other role where sometimes there's more of the coaching, more of a helping them find their own answer. And I think really it's about having education and experience as a coach and asking questions like you're doing now. Right? Like you're listening, you're going to pull out certain questions that you've heard something, you think, oh, we can expand and we can go here. I think so the way I blend that together is that often our lives get messy. And so you've probably found this with your clients too. I think most people who coach or consult find that we work with humans, and humans have lives that have challenges. And so being able to help coach them to find their own answers is really super helpful for them as well as for me and the relationship.
I love that, because it means then you're really focusing on the person in front of you and not just some expertise that you were then spouting off and saying, this is what you have to do because it says it in this book.
That's right, because there's no handbook for people. Right? There's not, right? There's just not. Like there are books around business that are tried and true strategies that work most every time. But, there's something bigger going on here than business. Yeah. Like I'm all in for business. Like I think it's fun. It's a fun game we play in the business arena. It's not about competition. It's about like we're building something together and we're helping people along the way. But then if you set that aside, there's something much bigger going on here in this life than business or money and that. I mean, it's really, to me, one of the best things about business is relationships. It comes from that, right? And our personal growth that comes through those challenges of dealing with other people. And that's where I'm sure with all the leaders you work with, this idea of kindness, it really is a conscious act. Conscious, we're aware, we respond, we don't react. It's about being tuned into this vessel. And keeping this vessel not too tired and keeping it healthy and keeping this body that moves me around optimal so that I can show up the best for others. I mean, I think there's so many aspects. Being a leader is not easy. Oh my gosh, no, being a leader is not easy. But it's so worth it.
It is if you are chasing a purpose-filled mission or a purpose-filled set of end goals, then it can be really fun. And as long as you don't forget the people along the way.
Right.
You've definitely hit on that. And I want to dig into that for just a minute here, because you're helping people and sometimes the business seems like you have to make a certain decision, and the humanity means that decision is not a kind one. It is not a great one. And so how do you coach people in those circumstances where they have to think about balancing humanity versus I've got to put food on the table? Because both are important. It's the kindness towards your family and yourself to have that food on the table. You also have to measure, who's on this journey with me and are they being fairly treated?
Right. The arena that I mostly evolve around in is a small business. So I think the answer may be different depending upon, is this a major corporation? Is it, we have 100 or more employees, or is it just like 5 or less? I think it's just different nuances to this. So this first answer will be for where I resonate with my small business, purposely small. I've had many more contractors and many more people, but I like it small because then I have the ability to do a lot more in my life. I find that I have a situation right now. I'm working with someone who's a client who is struggling financially and is making some hard decisions. And I think what the important thing is to talk and communicate and feel what would be the right decision for both of you. And I think when we leave those lines of communication open, especially when it's a small business and there's relationships that are very personal, that is easier than a corporate board. For instance, I recognize that. It's a different level of decisions. I would like to believe that there's always a way to be as kind as possible in a situation, given that we can't always control all of the variables, right? So I don't know that I have the absolute best answer for like across all spectrums of business for this, but what I have found in the many years of business, for me personally, this is just according to me and my experience, I find that when I talk to people, it's about being able to get them either on Zoom or on the phone versus email or text. When you actually have a chance to eyeball or voice to voice, at least on the phone, to be able to hear the humanity in the other person and to be able to share your truth if you're the one having to make that hard choice that affects them, or if they have a hard truth that affects you, to be able to find a way to come to a good conclusion for both of you. And, what's inherent in our whole conversation is I believe there's something deeper than just humans in this reality. I do believe there is a divine source of God, or whatever you want to call it. I call it source. People call it universe. I feel there's something deeper going on. And I find that when I give, even if it's uncomfortable, like if it hurts me financially to give to that person, I just find that it comes back. I don't have to control it all. So I think if we can, all I can control is being kind to someone. All I can control is trying to help them, trying to serve them would be a word I would use. And then beyond that, I don't have to be the great equalizer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There's a high level of trust there that it's all going to work out for all of our betterment, and all what I really am here to do in my mind is to serve others. I believe the reason we're on this planet, I didn't intend to go here, but here we go. I believe the reason we're on this planet is relationship. Right? If there was only one of us, what would be the purpose?
Right.
And I have to believe, for me, and I tried on the hat of there is no God, there is no purpose when I was 18, because I was angry. I was angry at how I'd been raised in the religion I'd been raised in. And I knew it didn't work for me. And so I thought, well, there is no God. But then that didn't really work for me either, because there was too much evidence to the contrary. So then I had to define, well, what is God to me? Because every single person is going to define that differently, right? Then as I've analyzed, well, then why? And why are we even on this planet? I've thought a lot about the hardest part, I think, is relationship. I think for me, in my experience, the hardest part of all of this is dealing with other people. I mean, really.
It's true.
Right? But so if there were only one of us, that would never happen. There would be no point. So I feel like a big part of the point, to me, what makes sense is that it's in the dealing with the others, in the relationship, in the finding a way to help, finding that kind response, that conscious leadership response, that centered, whatever term we want to call it, that response, when we tap into that bigger, what's going on here, and listen to our gut, it really helps guide the ship. That's our rudder. I don't know even what the question was anymore.
Well, I think, though, you've hit on some of the eternal truths that I also believe. The idea of if we are not here for each other, then I don't know why we're here.
Yeah.
Like you said, if it's just one person, then it's like a big game of Minecraft, where you're just world building and manipulating things around, but it's very lonely. And what's the point? And yeah, what's the point?
Because we grow in relation to others. We grow through seeing what we want to be or what we don't want to be, right? Let's just be real. I'm just leaving our HOA board. I've been 5 or more years of service. And you talk about a place where you can learn what you do and don't want to be and do. I mean, just HOA, it's real. I was like, oh, it can't be all that bad. It's just, no, because it's like, it's an extended family. It's your community, and there's hundreds of you
Right.
in that little community, which is like corporate America, which is business. I've often said we don't choose our siblings. I tell my mother this. We don't choose our siblings, but we can choose our friends. No, I love my siblings. I don't mean to say it that way, but it's one of those things that sometimes you can choose who you hang out with and who you choose. There's so many times that you can't choose, is what I'm trying to say. But that's where all the juice is. That's where all the growth is. That's where the opportunity to be kind is, and that's where the opportunity to effect positive change lies. Because I've learned some things in 6 decades. I've learned that I can sit back and go, well, I don't like that president, or I don't like what's happening in the country, but do nothing about it. I don't agree with that, or I don't think that's the right way to be, or I don't think they should do that. Like when you're younger, you're learning and you're gaining your opinions. What I've learned is that, first of all, judging is not kind, is one thing I've learned. But second of all, I've learned that if I really see that at the core, there's something going on here that is not in the betterment of humanity or this business or this person, then there's other ways to lean in and actually help. And it's not that I have this all figured out. I'm just saying, I feel like that's the purpose we're here, is to be able to ultimately have those head bonks with each other, but ultimately learn to reach across the fence and love and help others. And they may or may not accept it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, every person is different and they are driven by different motivations, at least on the surface. But you've now tripped into our first standard question that I love to ask guests. And I think you're going to have a lovely answer. So I'm excited about this. Will you go with me, Vanessa, on a thought experiment trip?
Only if it's on the Enterprise.
Okay. All right. So we're climbing onto the USS Enterprise with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, or possibly with Captain Pike and Mr. Spock.
No, it's with Shaniqua.
That's Shaniqua Martin Green is amazing as well. Yeah, we could be on the USS Discovery. But before we geek out too much for the audience's comfort level, this is all Star Trek, and you should all watch it. It's fantastic. But we're going to hop into a starship of your choosing.
There we go.
We're going to slingshot around the sun at such a rate that we can fling ourselves forward in time. We're just going to go really fast. And we're going to go come back to the Earth, and we're going to look at it 100 years from now. And I'm going to tell you right now that, Vanessa, while we were gone, everybody did all the right things. Everybody did everything beautifully. So we're arriving back at Earth. It is 2126, let's say. What's the evidence that you're looking for to confirm that we did all the right things?
Wouldn't that be something? 100 years is not very far from now.
A lot can change, though.
A lot could change, but like even just getting your head around 100 years, because that's really soon. That's really soon in the scheme of our world, right? Yeah. So what would, like, if everything happened right, that would be kind? First of all, that makes one a little emotional, right? Because it's easy to look out and see what we'd like to see changed. I didn't share this with you. I have a cat sanctuary in my home, and I did mention that I'm more of an animal activist, and I was raised in an environment where animals were food. And I would say for me, what I'm most passionate about is feeding animals is, in my belief system, not kind, because their lives are shortened. Often with our animal agriculture, they live horrific lives. And so for me, one of the first things I would see is that, oh my gosh, like once we embrace a plant-based diet, we're all going to be healthier anyway.
Yeah.
But my hope would be that we have come to a place where we don't kill billions and billions and billions of animals every year. Have them be born, live horrific lives, and then kill them brutally so that we can eat them. I would hope that, I know this pushes up against people's, when we talk about their plate, that would be my first hope, because I think that is a kinder world. If we can show kindness to beings that don't have a say at all in their life, that's the ultimate kindness. Now, yes, sometimes I do feel like I love animals more than people, so I started there, but I will extend that to people. I do love people, but I really love animals. Right now, currently in America, we're very much a divided nation. You know, maybe we always are at different levels, probably, because we're all different. My hope, if we do everything right, is that when we get out of our enterprise or discovery and we land in a world that is clearer skies, cleaner oceans, pollution either gone or, you know, being clean, with people that work together of all creed, diverse. We're diverse. People from all walks of life, learning how to lock arms and say, we're here together to serve one another and to make it a better place for all. One of the philosophies that I feel would have to go is this idea that we have the right answer and you don't. And I don't know how to best say that in this, but I feel like that would go, the recognizing that there's more than one right answer. And this is just the right answer for me. So I'm going to do me, and you do you, boo. I'm going to do me, and you do you. And we can just acknowledge we're different and revel in each other's differences and accept and recognize, like, isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely how that human is expressing? I think the environment and a plant-based lifestyle, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And embracing kindness, which is what really drew me to you, Michael, with this movement, is because it's so kind. All of those are so kind to the earth, which nurtures us, right? To the animals, which we need in order to have our earth, and for each other. What a world that would be. What a world that would be. Yeah. And all we can... Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I want to land in that future with you.
Yeah. You are there. Well, of course, we'd be really old. Oh, no,
okay.
I forgot. We buzzed over. We've, what's the Star Trek term?
Yeah, we transported down.
Transported. That's right.
Or we energized, yeah.
We energized. I love that.
Yeah. No, I mean, you started off what you said with this sort of profound sense of, oh my gosh, 100 years.
Yeah.
And really, I want everybody who's listening and watching to add 100 years to your current age. What are your odds of being here? I mean, the odds of the two of us, really, really tiny. The odds of my kids, right? You know, maybe their kids, which are not born yet, maybe, but they're going to be really old. And so it's all about, what are we leaving behind for others to inherit? Right?
And what are we teaching? And what are we teaching those generations?
So it brings us to that second part of the question, the hidden part, which is, right, we've gone ahead, we've seen that everything worked great because we did all the right things. Vanessa Emerson, what are those right things?
I kind of pulled that in, didn't I? A little bit. You know, I think if I were going to tie a bow on it, I think it is in how we lead now. I think it is in what we teach and how we lead. And we lead by example. Our children, these next generations, our colleagues, our family, our friends, we lead by example. And I would encourage, I'm so glad we got here. Because we've been talking about leadership and kindness, but here's the thing is, everybody is a leader, whether they recognize it or not. Everyone is a leader. You may not think you are, but it's called, self-directed leadership. It's in how we self-manage or not. We may not be leading people in a direction that's healthy for them or serves them, but we all lead. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's like the example we shine. I think what this calls for is self-management It calls for self-directed leadership. It calls for being responsible, taking responsibility. Period. It's about having values and discipline. It's like having values for what you really believe you'd like to see in the world. Now, we're not all going to agree on what that looks like, right? We don't now. Right. But it starts with us being able to manage ourselves, have that discipline, talk to others, and be able to listen and be kind and find solutions that works for everyone. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I mean, who would have thought like what it looks like now? I mean, these devices, when I was a kid, we wouldn't carry a phone around. Like, there's so many things that we couldn't have pictured. It will be really fun to see, won't it? It will be really fun to see. Hopefully. That's the whole thing. Hopefully.
And as much as we
right.
And as much as we get a chance to stick around and see, but yeah. I think what we leave behind for our children and their children and so on, I think that's the part that we're very cognizant of. And you mentioned we don't all have the same value systems, but I think that there are certain pieces that we can all agree on.
Yes.
There's certain pieces, like every human being deserves love. Every human being deserves food and shelter and healthcare and education. There's certain things that, gosh, why wouldn't we offer these great things to every single child available? Like, oh, you don't have food? Let's get you food, right?
That is what I believe. I would say not everyone believes that. What I'm seeing is not everyone seems to believe that. And my hope is that through conversation and through helping others see that it doesn't take anything from you to allow this person to be who they be or to help those people who are in need. It doesn't take anything from you to allow us to all be. We're in a really important time right now, a very important time. And I would encourage your listeners to listen to their gut. What matters most to them? What do they want for? Maybe they don't have children. Maybe they have fur babies, but they have friends who have children, and there's next generations that are coming. I think that is such a poignant, powerful question. What do we want to leave? What is our legacy? What do we want to leave? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's such a great question. Thank you, Michael.
Of course, yeah. And I'm going to ask you now, as you contemplate these things, as you go forth in your life, not every day is a great day. There are bad news days. There are moments where it's something that's in our personal lives. We just wake up we were just feeling kind of funky that day, right? When you hit one of those days, what are the ways that you get inspired again?
I mentioned I've been a student of self-development for about 45 years. So along the way, I've learned some tricks. One is a daily habit of meditation. So when I'm specifically having challenges that are bigger than just the day, something happening big in your life that is really brings you to your knees, that's when I double meditate morning and night. Morning meditation, I learned this from David G. through Chopra Center decades ago. He calls it RPM, rise, pee, meditate. RPM. Don't turn the light on. Just get to the bathroom. Don't do anything else. Don't look at your phone. There's this whole idea of, Rumi said, the morning breeze has secrets to tell you. And so there's this whole idea of pulling out of sleep, getting your body out of bed, get to the bathroom, come back and sit. Don't lay down. Come back and sit. Don't turn the light on. Maybe you're still in darkness this time of year or that morning. Have your chair ready. If you need a blanket, if you need slippers, have it ready for your daily ritual of reconnecting. Because when we have that belief system that there's something bigger than us, we find our way of reconnecting, whether it's prayer, and we find that on our knees at the edge of our bed morning and night. We find that in meditation, whether it's walking or sitting beside the bed in your room. Wherever we do these contemplative, inward-going exercises. To me, prayer is different than meditation, but similar. For me, meditation is not with prayer, and I've had many decades of prayer. Prayer tends to be like I'm asking things. With meditation, it's more of a quieting. There's a difference. Meditation on its own is not a spiritual practice unless you want it to be. Meditation is definitely a health-oriented wellness practice because it helps still what we call the monkey mind, right? The brain that won't stop. It's about, and often people say, but my brain never stops. No one's does. But it's about letting it go, patting the thought on the head, letting it go. Patting that thought on the head, letting it go, and just bringing your attention back to your breath, just back to your breath, and allowing to sit in stillness. There's such a centering that comes from that. That is one of many different strategies. I mean, I think something that helps, I'll just share one other. I think it's really important that we get the right amount of rest at the right time. We need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and it needs to happen during the dark. It needs to happen from like 9 to 5 or 10 to 5 or 6. It needs to happen in that realm because our body needs that. Our digestion needs that for our overall health. We need to not be eating food before we go to bed so that our digestive system can heal and rest overnight. Just having, again, this vessel in its I don't want to say purest, but like healthiest form, just helps us maintain our emotions, helps us think better, and helps us be able to rationalize the this too will pass. I know this is a hard thing that it feels like we're going through or I'm going through, and I know that leaning into my belief system, whatever that is, this too will pass. Those are a couple.
It's wonderful, and hopefully people have taken notes, and if you haven't, we're including it in the show notes, so folks, don't worry about it. Are there books, movies, TV shows, podcasts, inspirational speakers? Is there something you would recommend for our audience that will keep them on the path of kindness or keep them energized?
Oh, that's so great. You know, there's so many. For me, the books I have meant the most to me have been Eckhart Tolle has multiple books. I've been a long time follower of Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, and many books. Brene Brown, anything she writes, you know, it's going to, not, I don't want philosophers, we can put it that way, probably. Deepak Chopra early on, anything Deepak's written. One of my favorites is the seven spiritual laws of success. It is a really profound. I mean, there's so many. Anything from Hay House.
Okay. That's great. Wonderful. And are there things that you recommend to the audience that they try in terms of being kinder to others or to themselves? Are there practices that you might have?
Yes. If I have time to, if I have 2 minutes.
Of course. This
is a book by, I believe his name is Michael Cromwell, PhD. It's called Go Suck a Lemon.
Okay.
And fair warning, he does occasionally use the F word, but it was purposeful. It was his college professor story. So if anybody's just heads up on that, but it's not that kind of a book. It just was for emphasis. But it's a wonderful, wonderful emotional intelligence book. And there's a formula he shares in there that I read this book like 10 years ago, and I think about it all the time. A plus B equals C, divided by D equal E. I'll walk you through that. A is the activating event. Someone pulls out in front of you in traffic. Plus B, my belief system. I don't think they should pull right out in front of me in traffic equals C, the consequence. Well, I don't flip people off, but a lot of people would honk their horn or yell or whatever. We have a consequence because that is a reaction. All of the power of this formula lies in D. So we diffused by D. D is the diffusing. If we take just a couple seconds to actually decide how to respond versus knee-jerk reacting, we can have E, an evolved response. I mean, this is not E equals MC squared, like high-level quantum physics, right? It's basic, logical, and so powerful. It really is so simple. It's basically breathe before you respond. Stop and take a moment before you respond. Easier said than done. Because we're used to thinking about what we want to say to that person while they're talking, so we just go right in. It's about slowing down. Respond, don't react. I mean, I think that would change the world. I really do. Because we've all been taught values. We all have values. So if we can respond and act according to our values, we're going to end up 100 years from now in a really kind universe.
I love that. And that is absolutely true. I almost pulled out into traffic and held myself back, realizing that there was traffic coming. And one gentleman decided to slow down and wave at me aggressively and scold me essentially through our two windows. He wanted to scold me aggressively about how I'm not even sure, but at the end of the day, it was his burden to carry because I was like, well, I'm so sorry he had that reaction.
And
neither of us got hurt.
You.
Yeah, it's like, okay, good luck,
That's my response. Have a great day.
But I love that is the idea of taking that breath, taking that space, really considering what is your belief system. I definitely want to end up in your future, Vanessa. I tell you right now.
Well, in my future, you are there.
Oh, good. All right. Wonderful. Well,
thank you, Michael.
Before I let you go, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who've listened to this podcast and really would love to plug into your universe. How can people find you? What's your next big project that you're working on? Just tell us about what's new for you. Thank
you. It's easy to find me. Email is info@vanessaemerson.com, and you can find me at vanessaemerson.com. We have a lot going. We have 3 different meetings a year. We do a really lovely wellness retreat in January. It'll be January 8 through 10 in Phoenix. It's always the first or second week of the year. And it's called Expansion. It's where we come together and we learn and we grow and we expand. It's just lovely. And you can find out more about that at betheexpansion.com. It's the exact expansion we've been talking about. It's about, leaning into greater versions of ourselves, not from profitability standpoint, but from the human standpoint. How can we be? How can, Jane Goodall just passed as we record this. Jane, a heroine, for so many reasons. How can we live a life like Jane?
Love that. So thank you again so much for coming to our Future is Kind podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This episode's Kindness Challenge. Take 3 deep breaths before reacting to anything emotionally charged. Respond, don't react. Meditate in the morning before your phone or coffee. Just sit in quiet stillness. When faced with a tough business decision, choose a conversation over a text. Show someone kindness even if they can't repay it. Want to stay inspired so you can stay kind? Try the RPM method, the Rise, P, Meditate. Before your day begins, carve out space for stillness and reflection. Read one of Vanessa's go-tos, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra, or anything by Eckhart Tolle or Abraham Hicks. Sleep deeply, 7 to 8 hours, during nighttime hours with no food before bed. Check out Go Suck a Lemon by Michael Cornwall, PhD. Thanks again for listening to our Future is Kind podcast, a podcast in search of a kinder future. Go out there and do something kind.